Okay, just making sure because I'm like, of course now it goes live. How long did we wait? How long did we wait
It was a
before it
while.
said go live? It was a while. So I shut off the video. So you guys are gonna get to watch this in its entirety. Do you want to watch it? Do you
Ooh.
even care?
I mean, we could
Do we
just
need
like
the opening?
skip it. I don't
Yeah,
mind.
we'll skip it.
Cool.
All right.
Welcome to Live Action Star Wars. I'm James.
I'm Ralph.
Did you forget who you were then?
No.
We we are here to talk about the Acolyte episode 3, Destiny.
Right.
No slash something else because
it's the same timeline.
Because it's the same timeline, because we're not getting like a juxtaposition between one sister and the other. I've seen some people sort of theorizing of why we're just going for this. It's weird. What was the last show that came out? Ahsoka did a similar thing where the first few episodes were like this and that, like Master and Apprentice, light and dark, some whatever. Like, and then it sort of just dropped that halfway through the season. And this, at the moment, has done the same thing. It's a strange naming convention that they're going with, but I like the idea of it just being that we're following one storyline as opposed to parallel stories.
Right. It's a welcome flashback. I very much enjoyed it.
I thought it was great.
Considering people are calling this a mystery show,
they're answering.
They're just putting it all out there.
They're putting it all out there, but they're also laying breadcrumbs for like, you thought this was the mystery. It's not. Actually, this is the mystery.
Yes. I have a feeling I know what's... So in the first couple episodes, we got the whole thing where May started the fire and the Jedi are covering it up. And we're like, oh shit, the Jedi did bad stuff.
But then we hear like
talk about it last week. But
from May's side of things, she thinks Osha started the fire. Like it's...
So
responsible for the fire, not started.
And we're thinking, you know, the Jedi did this awful thing. What are they? They're covering it up. I think I know what's going on.
Oh, interesting. I do. Well, I don't know if I know what's going on. I'm not going to be that confident about it. But I think I
know what happened here.
Yeah. Okay. So this whole flashback really leans into what Eddie brought up last week with the Rashomon style storytelling. And I think if we get more context for this flashback, we could really be going that direction. And I am here for it. I am really enjoying that if that's the case.
Right. So for me, here's the thing. We heard sides of the story. We saw the thing happen. Again, Eddie mentioned Rashomon. I think we're going to get more in this flashback, obviously, because there's things that don't add up. The fire that May started was very, very
isolated,
minimal.
Yeah, it was a decent sized fire, but like it's not going to explode the dam.
No. Yeah. So, and then the next thing we see is everyone's just lying in the middle of the room dead.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay, so up until this point where we've been like, holy shit, these 4 Jedi did something fucking bad.
Yeah.
And they are covering it up. I believe that these witches and these girls who are strong in the Force or the thread
created by as well, potentially, like
apparently are strong enough in the Force for the Jedi to come be like, hey, you know, maybe this is the one that was prophesized. Maybe this is the crazy midichlorian kid that we've heard of. I think if the Jedi are powerful enough to get that signal, the Sith is also able to get that signal. And if we knew anything about Sith, if we know anything about the Sith, they're about manipulating. It's like in Lost Long Con. It's like you make them think one thing, and
we're going to be behind the scenes pulling another thread.
So my assumption after this episode is the Sith did all this shit.
Yeah, me too.
And they're able to convince all sides.
It's what Palpatine
going down.
It's what Palpatine does with the Clone Wars. Like he's playing both sides against the middle so that he always comes out on top. It's he's like Mac in Always Sunny.
I haven't seen an episode. I haven't seen a single episode. Uh, but I feel like that's what the Jedi are covering up, and that's what they shouldn't be covering up. It's again, I keep bringing up Green Lantern. If you see the Green Lantern movie, not great,
Yeah.
but there's Green Lanterns that go out and are getting killed. Uh, Sinestro takes a group of Green Lantern to find out what's happening, and it's it's Parallax.
Yeah.
It's the embodiment of fear taking over Kronos, who's a guardian, and he's killing lanterns. So
Mhm.
Sinestro goes and reports and says, "Hey, listen, there's this thing out here," and the guardians are like, I don't believe you."
Not a problem.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so I feel like these four might be good guys and be like, "Hey, listen,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's the Sith Lord. Why does it bubbles have to come out of my mouth? Um, there's a Sith Lord, and they're like sweeping it up under the rug, like, oh, we don't,
No, there's not.
we're
They're
above
extinct.
that.
No, no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I feel like Carrie Ann Moss, Lobaka, I don't remember his name, um,
Tommen from Game
hair,
of Thrones.
hairline, and yeah, and the other guy, Saul, um,
Yeah.
are like tried. They're
Yeah.
trying, so they might not be bad. And
I
I
don't think
think
so.
with Saul not being by the book, and clearly in this episode he has an emotional attachment to Osha.
Yeah.
Like he's like
He's
maybe the
he's the
Jedi
most
aren't right.
he's the most like caring Jedi that we've seen in since Qui-Gon. He reminds me a lot of Qui-Gon. I've heard it said a
Yeah,
few times, but in
yeah,
not just in the like the really believing in this one kid when everyone else is saying probably not, but just he's compassionate. He's not that by the book regimented Jedi following the code and everything like the if only you played by the rules, master, you'd be on the council. Like I kind of get that same feeling with him, except I mean, the Padawans that we've seen him train, be it Osha or Padawan whose name I'm forgetting now because I didn't write it down this week. Where is she? Here, Jackie. Um, uh, both of them were like they really see that he's different to the other Jedi that
yeah,
they're used to. He is caring.
yeah,
He's compassionate. But and I think even the other Jedi, so Vern or uh, what's her name, Carrie Moss Indara, they also see that he's different, and they're like, "You're great. We love you. Like you're really good, but." Play by the rules. We are a lot more by the book, by the rules. You're is in the same boat but younger.
yeah.
Um, he's the one who's he's very good, but he's bending it because he's probably right.
The
And I
thing
think
is,
because of that, he's going to come to the same fate as Qui-Gon.
I've brought this up before, and I don't. It's not something I like to bring up, but the Bible has good teachings, and there's some people that use that to do good, and there's some people that use that to twist the words and make it bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I like about this show is because like over the last couple years, my whole thing with the prequels has changed from these are stupid to I like that George Lucas is making the Jedi religion dumb. I like what
Yes,
Ryan Johnson did with that
yes.
and saying like, yeah, these sacred texts aren't.
They're not. Then you don't need to follow them
Yoda
by the.
Yoda
Yeah.
learns a little bit late in life
Hmm.
because he had like 900 years of learning this Jedi way.
But
Because
he
I'm
gets
assuming,
there.
yeah, he understands in death, like
But in death
yeah,
slash failure, like failure is the best teacher. Like,
yeah,
it's
and
yeah,
then
that scene is incredible.
Luke saying the Jedi need to die and stuff. Like this is really taking that and being like, hey, listen, Ryan Johnson probably his point of view is the Jedi are not good.
Mm.
George Lucas probably the same thing, but
I think it's
I
they're
do,
good, but they're not right. They're good, but the
yeah,
way that they're going about it
yeah,
isn't the right way.
right, and I do like. It's so funny how Inara talking about like the rules and the Republic and it's like church and state
It
and
really is, and
and
it's
it's
got
one of those
close
things where
where
it's like holy shit, we're out here doing our religion and here you are coming in
and
and
we're
try
saying
to
that
like
you can't do it. You can't do it
yeah,
your way. You can't believe your thing. So like you can do it because you're essentially like grandfathered in. You're already doing it, but you can't train kids in that. You can't tell your kids that only we can do that. It's like
Yeah.
it's icky. It's like it's hypocritical. It's yeah.
But the whole thing with taking kids, which we got in The Force Awakens with Finn being taken as kids, and then in, was it Ahsoka? Where did we learn, like, where it was really like, holy shit, the Jedi, like, we've known that Jedi have taken kids, but it was really explored in something recently. I want to say Ahsoka.
I mean,
Um,
there was a
could
conversation
be
in
wrong.
Obi-Wan Kenobi where he talks about like having distant
Yeah,
memories of his
and his
brother.
brother.
We got
It,
we
it's
saw Ahsoka being taken at the end of the Tales of the Jedi. Like we've seen
yeah,
snippets of like that process.
yeah,
And
and
I
it's
think
not
this one's
good.
really interesting because no, this one's really interesting. I wanted to mention it last week, but we sort of ran out of time and got off the topic. But Osha was 8 when she's taken. Anakin's 9 when he's taken. I am really starting to lean towards the thing that this particular event and Osha and May and their whole situation is going to be what leads to them being like, no, this is too old. Because it feels like now it's like she's on the
Oh,
cusp. She's on the cusp of
yeah.
being too old. She does get trained. She leaves, but I think through this process and whatever happens here with the Sith or whatever dark side forces come into play in this series, we're gonna find out that this is what makes them real hard line of no, he's too old. Bang. And that's why there
In
is a hard line until Anakin becomes the exception of the rule.
So let me ask you this question. In this timeline, does Mace Windu exist? Is he alive?
Not
We don't know
yet.
his species, right?
No,
Because we don't know Luke's species. We don't know anybody's species. I know they say
no,
human being in some stuff, but like we don't know the lifespans of anybody.
we don't know. If you're going by um him and Sam Jackson, like if you think of them as probably on parallel, I think he's what late 40s, early 50s, maybe when they're making the prequels,
Because I'm
maybe
wondering
mid
if this
40s.
I'm
I've
wondering
always
if
sort of
this
assumed he
story,
was around the same age.
yeah, I think that this story has enough ripples in it to where they're like, no more with the prophecy.
Yeah,
No more with
I
the
think it could be
prophecy of the
like, or
one.
we thought we were there, but we're not. So like,
Yeah.
let's just move on from it. Like, yeah,
I mean, okay, so another thing, like
yeah.
I
Dartharian
saw this, I believe
agrees that Mace wouldn't be around just yet.
this was on Star Wars Explained.
Okay,
Um Alex mentions that the sort of mantra that they say to each other says, I hope I don't fuck this up. Um uh shit.
let me fuck
Created
it
as
up.
one, born together, created as one, something like.
Born as what? Yeah.
Anyway, he was saying that he doesn't know if the mom created the twins or if it was she split the cells off of one.
Hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there was
Always
one.
one, but born as two.
So yeah, always one, but they were born as two. So
Very,
did they use
very
the
forced
thread
dyady. Yeah,
to split the things? And did May get
the light and the dark.
the light in the dark? Also, if they were born, if they were like created as one or whatever, like would that have been the prophecy?
Yeah, like were
Where the
they?
midichlorian count split and they
Mm.
would have been like one. Are they the actual prophecy? Does this thing prove like fuck up the whole process and the prophecy? And then when we get to Anakin, it's like someone's like,
It's a
hey, you
manipulation
want to talk about
of
that again?
yeah. So
Yeah.
in the
And Mace
now
Windu's like,
not
no.
yeah. The now not canon Darth Plagueis book, which is an excellent book that sort of recontextualized the entire prequel trilogy and everything, and it's always sort of held up as one of those things. It isn't technically canon, but elements of it have been pulled back into canon over the time. There's a lot of it heavily implied that the Plagueis and Sidious didn't have a direct hand in creating Anakin, but the Anakin is created by the Force as a retaliation to the manipulation that they're doing. They're trying to manipulate life and create a dark side being, essentially. And in response to that, the yin and yang of everything and of the Force, the balance of the Force, that is what creates Anakin, like almost simultaneously. So
Yeah.
this is a very similar thing. Like this, Mayosha could be, as you're saying, like them created. Bang, they are the balance. They are as one, but then like split. It's really
Split in
really
the
interesting
womb
stuff.
on
Yeah,
a
because like they
on a
say,
microscopic level.
yeah, Coral, Mother Coral, like she carried them, but Mother Anasea carries them.
Yeah.
And in credits and stuff like that, May and Osha Anasea. That is their surname. Like she is Mama. She is their
Yeah.
mum. Mother Coral carried them, and it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think we get it, but like the other witches, the other older witches, it wouldn't surprise me if they refer to them as Mother whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but they refer to Anasea as their main mama, and she's definitely like the leader of this coven. Um,
Yeah.
it's like there's so much in this episode. It's already like high tier Star Wars for me.
Right. So, I mean, we're only 3 episodes in,
Mhm.
and I know it's new, and I know I'm kind of excited about it, but I think this is the best Star Wars show.
It's up there
I
against Andor so far for me, but it's like
but
they're two so
this is
different. Yeah.
this is what I'm thinking though. Like Andor is an
Will
amazing show.
yeah.
It's crafted well, it's written well, the characters are amazing. You could take that and set it
But
in like London spies
anything.
during World War
Yeah.
II. You
Yeah,
could
yeah, yeah.
set it anywhere. There's nothing in it other than the setting that really makes it Star Wars
Star
to
Wars.
me.
Yeah. But that's I
Like
mean,
I don't even, there's like barely laser blasts. Like
that's it.
it's
It's
amazing. But this
one
show,
starfighter fight, yeah.
I've been I mean, we haven't seen it through the end. And I said this probably at the same time as
You were
during Ahsoka,
you were,
where
yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. It feels focused. It feels like the story is they had something in mind and
I think we were saying the
created
same thing about
the show
Obi-Wan as
around this
well. Like it feels
story.
like a movie. Yeah, yeah.
But this one, I really, really feel, and I don't think I'm gonna get burned. With Ahsoka, it took until that very last episode where I'm like, fuck.
It's
Did I
got
shoot?
like Ahsoka had that sort of Filoni. I don't want to say that Filoni stink on it because he does a lot of good work, but like that,
Yeah.
like you always knew that it had some Filoni in there. And coming off of things like Mando and Book of Boba Fett, where he had a more direct hand, it's like I don't always love every element of what he does. I'll have fun with it, but I don't always love every element. Whereas this
I'm
has a
not a
distinct
fan.
voice. This has Leslie has a voice on it. Andor had its own distinct voice, and I think that's why I'm comparing these two, despite being vastly different shows.
They're-
They are they're both elements of Star Wars that I love. I love the outer rim, smugglery, dogfighty,
Yeah.
war side of Star Wars, and this is the star of Star Wars, like its side of Star Wars. It's like this is the Force stuff, this is the Jedi, this is the Sith. Like it's excellent. Like having both is we're living in a great time,
Yeah.
despite what
The
people
main
say. Like
here's the thing is Tony Gilroy famously not a Star Wars fan
I,
and brings what he brings to the table, which is craft and story and character and
it's like look at what you can do and put it
yes,
in Star Wars. Yeah,
yes. Leslie Headland,
Headland. Yep.
uh,
Has a
is a
Leia
massive
tattoo on
Star
her
Wars fan,
hand. Like
right?
she writes
Yeah,
fanfic. She's got a Leslie Headland tattoo. Like she's got a yeah. That'd be really self indulgent if you had a tattoo of yourself on your hand. She's got a Leia tattoo on her hand. Like she is
yeah.
unequivocally a Star Wars nerd. She loves this
So
shit.
it's nice to have somebody that is focused like a Tony Gilroy, but is
Mm,
also a fan.
yeah,
I know that Filoni is a massive fan, but almost to the point where it's like he wants to show his work, and so you get these moments in like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka where it's like stop and like, ooh,
Hey,
look at
look,
this.
yeah.
The show
Hey,
doesn't
look,
have
kids.
like any establishing shots. Like it has establishing shots of like the tree but it's
The
not
Jedi
like
Temple or whatever.
sweeping
Like,
vistas or it's not spaceship. It's like
it's
here
just
we
putting you in
are.
the scene so
Now
you
we're
know
in
where
this
you are.
scene
Yeah.
and here are the characters and then that's it. It's not like big reveals. I know again that there's probably characters in the show that are from stuff.
Yeah.
I
Not yet.
watched, I watch New Rockstars, I watch Star Wars Explained, and it's like one of those things where it's like there's stuff for those people, but it's not. None of it is in the way,
No,
and I
not at
feel
all.
like I like floating. I really do.
Yeah.
Rebels is amazing. Uh, uh, you know,
He's George's
for
heir
me,
apparent. He's always gonna be like
yeah,
yeah. But
yeah.
that's for better
But
and worse. Like you get
but
both sides of that, I think.
I like this. Let's just keep going. Let's keep telling the story. Let's not stop to
Give
visit a weird
voices to
creature.
these
Not
people. Like, yeah.
all the weird creatures in this show are just background.
They're there. Like they're just part of the world. They're not like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. As of right now, and again, I feel like I'm not going to get burned on this one. I really do. I know I said that about Ahsoka,
Really,
and
really
we're
hope.
only 3 episodes in. What is this? 8 episodes or something?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not quite
Um,
halfway.
but from what I've heard, um, next week's episode's quite the thing to see.
Good.
So I'm
Yeah,
very
I've
excited about it. Our guest is
we've
Adam. Uh,
we've got Adam. Originally, Adam was scheduled for this episode. That he's on vacation this week, and he had screeners of the first four, so he'd seen the first four, and it makes me really, really glad that he's not on this episode because he'd be with us now discussing this episode with knowledge of what's coming next week. And
right,
he's great. I don't think he'd spoil anything for anyone, but like it having that knowledge, your conversation can't be the same. It just can't. Like,
right, right.
so I'm really glad that we've got him next week because he'll be at the same level as all the rest of us.
Yeah, as
Which
far as like
is
speculating and stuff.
yeah.
Um, this I think is the best looking episode so far.
I
Uh,
agree.
it didn't have that TV look to me, even though there were definite
And
sets
they
and
were they
stuff.
were in they were in sets. It felt sort of. I mean, it wasn't a bottle episode. They were in multiple rooms, but it was like one location
Yeah,
really. Like it was this fortress. Damn, this damn fortress.
yeah,
Which visually so cool. The establishing shots that we did get of this fortress, where you see like the bit of it like that's sort of not floating, it is connected at the top, but it's such a cool design with
yeah,
those moons in the background and like the crescents that you're getting from that, like that are the
yeah,
logo of the Acolyte. Um,
right,
it's amazing, and the twinness of that, and it going to the twin sons of Tatooine. Of course, you're going to think about it.
yeah,
It's so good. It's so visually striking when you get those shots compared
yeah,
to Inside, where a lot of it feels old and ancient and temple-y, but then it's definitely a working dam as well. Like we see, and it leans into the whole we didn't start the fire situation with it all. Like it's burning, but there's even before that, there's something going on with the generators and stuff like that. We get some issues with the generators, it
yeah,
seems, and it's what is going on with those generators. I think we're going to find out. I think we're going to see this from. I'm going to call it at least two more points of view, maybe three. I think we're going to get so this. If we're saying that it's mostly from Osha's POV, I think we're going to get Soul's POV from like the moment we see him creeping in the woods. He's going to then report back, and we're going to see his
mm,
side of things, probably in like a truncated version of it. And I think we'll see it from the Sith's point of view, probably Manny Jacinto, maybe not, maybe a different Sith. I think we're going to see that point of view, and maybe we also see it from May's point of view, with her being pulled at from the dark Sith side, um, and it could be a case of no one comes out looking good. Like she starts the fire at the
yeah,
door, the Jedi are responsible for something, and the Sith is there like behind the scenes sneakily making everyone blame each other because that's
Yeah.
what they do.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait.
Yeah. This is Um so Chris mentions that the episode might upset some of the Minox out there. I mean, I love
They're
like
already
here's the
upset.
thing.
Like, good.
Yeah. There's
If
girls
it
in this
just
one. They're already mad.
yeah, oh, yeah,
But
of
the
course.
fact
Colored,
that
like girls, like people of color, like they of course they're mad. Like, yeah,
they so it's a marriage between women,
oh,
but
yeah.
it serves the story,
The
which I
witches, like,
love.
were these same people mad at like the witches of Dathomir? Like, I don't get it. Like, it's like, oh, it drives me nuts because like it does serve the story. It
It serves the
instantly
story.
creates the thing where it's like we know that they're the only children. They're the only kids in this coven. That this coven has
Yeah.
been driven from their home. We don't know really what their deal is. They are another force sensitive. Not they don't call it the force. I love that they don't call it the force. Like
Yeah.
they've got their version. Dathomirian witches call it magic with a K. These guys call it the thread, but they even make references like some call it a force. Some we see it as
Yeah.
a thread, and there is stuff in like phase 2 of the High Republic novels where, as I've mentioned, like there's a convocation of different force using sects, and they all come together, and it's definitely by this point they seem to have been shut down. And it's like, hey, if you're out there, you're out there, but we're gonna make you extinct by not letting you have more kids, more trainees.
Yeah, it's
Um,
crazy.
that's the way that they're eradicating these other force users. It's dark.
Stevie
I
asked in
mean,
Star Wars,
yeah,
are they all called witches? All powerful groups of women called witches? I don't know. So far, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Chris says. Um it's it I mean, here's the thing. In The Rise of Skywalker, there is a gay kiss,
Mhm.
and it maybe feels a little forced. In
Yeah,
this one,
it's one of those things that's
story.
like it's there, so cool. Right,
Yeah,
any representation is good, but like it definitely feels forced in there to the point where it's like we know why it's so short. It's so that they can cut it out for the Chinese audience. Like it
yeah,
was cut out for the Chinese release and things like that. It's like so if you're gonna do it and it, it's almost like placating at that point. It's like
yeah,
put it in there or don't have some balls. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but here's the thing, like, we've had Star Wars for 47 years. Um, it's been a lot of the same. What I like about this show is it feels different, it feels new. Uh, Again, I like short and sweet. I don't like the over explanation of stuff.
Mhm.
I like my Star Wars to go at a nice clip. But as soon as they announced Star Wars series, I'm like, okay, you have a little more breathing room.
Mhm.
There's a little more room to explore.
Mhm.
And by them making this sort of a murder mystery as opposed to like a war thing or a
Yeah.
heist or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
making this kind of a murder mystery or just a mystery.
Yeah.
It's nice that that's refreshing and you're able to sprinkle in bits of history and lore without bogging it down.
And I like
All of
that
this
they
feels
had
very natural.
the courage to do an entire episode this early on as a flashback
Yeah.
with our like
I
not our
appreciate
main
it.
characters, but like our the male lead of the show is very
Right.
much a small supporting role in this episode.
Right.
It's a great way of doing it.
One of my things with the show Lost is there's an episode called Across the Sea, which
Yep,
is a flashback that has a lot of info in it that I personally appreciated. I needed that info.
loved that episode when it came out.
But
Still do.
unfortunately, they put it as like it's the second to last episode. It was like
Second,
third
yeah,
to last.
yeah,
And
somewhere around
it's
there.
like, I'm like, listen, you're ramping up to something here. I don't need to then go back, hundreds of years to
I
see
think
what's
that
out of
that could
out
have
of the
been the
event.
season 6 opener. I think like that would have been a good spot for it.
Or Yeah.
Maybe
The
the
whole
second
thing is like
episode.
waiting a whole hiatus to come back and just see a thing. It's yeah, it was so out of place. So for this, as I'm watching, I'm like, oh man, I gotta sit here and watch this whole thing's gonna be a flashback. But it's no, it's
No.
all necessary. It's added some pieces to the puzzle from the first two episodes, and now that we have this, we can move forward.
Mm.
We're gonna get back to this for
I
sure,
think the
but
show is
I
the
think
show.
this is setting up. This is setting up we got who the characters are, who the players are, and we got in our brain an idea of who we think they are.
Yeah,
Then this is like, okay, here's the timetable. This is what all those characters where they were at this moment. Okay, cool, but
we know that
something's
this is
off.
an
We're only
inflection point.
seeing
That this is definitely a very important point for all of our main characters.
yeah. And so now it's like, okay, cool. We're gonna get back to this later, but let's it's a nice I like that it was episode three.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like I'm like that's all we got was a flashback. Like I'm like, we got good
I was
information
I was glad when
and
it
I
cut
am
back to a ship. I was like, oh, okay, are we back in present day and we're getting May present day waking up on the Jedi ship? And I was like, no, we're still in it, and I
yeah,
loved that we were still in it. I was really glad. The show is
yeah.
treating the audience with respect and like not holding hands, but like also not like overplaying things. It's treating them as intelligent as well. It's like you know what's going on. Like we've shown you enough that you know what's going on, but like here is the information to make that like you see why that's important. So you care about what these characters are doing this or saying these things, doing these things, feeling these ways. It's not it's not sort of going, oh, wouldn't this be interesting to find out? It's not setting up mysteries without paying them off. It's just going, here they are. Here's the answers to your
Yeah.
questions. But here's another question. Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? Isn't what you thought was
It's
a mystery
it's
isn't?
lost.
It's
As
it's
Johnny says, he hasn't gotten to the Across the Sea episode of Lost. You won't until the very end.
oh no, you'll get that. Like
Um,
we haven't like Liz and I are watching it through. It's her first time, and we just did uh episode 3 Jughead. Yeah, we just did Jughead in season
okay.
5. So we're right in that point. So we're getting there.
That's around where Johnny is right now. He's just
Oh, that's
starting
great.
season 5, I believe. Um, uh, but much like Lost, and this is something that people complain about, is that they'll answer like one question but bring up like three more, and fundamentally that's what keeps me interested in Lost to this
Yeah.
day, is I
Yeah.
don't have all the answers and I can still have conversations about it. So for
I'm
this dropping more questions, I'm like, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I have nothing to talk about on the show.
well, that's it. Like
It's
we loved last week's episode, but we did a 2 hour like a double episode and we got it
yeah.
done in an hour because it wasn't for lack of enjoyment or for lack of ways of saying how much we enjoyed it. It was just like I don't know. There was 3 of us and we're all talking about this stuff, but it's like, "Oh, I don't have anything else to say." But
Yeah.
I'm talking about this now and I'm just like all of these things that are coming up, they're like small little lines, like the Republic laws against training children. I'm just like, that in itself is fascinating because they've got to that point and it's as you said, it's that separation of church and state. There's so
It's
much of that in
crazy.
this show that it's just adding more and more things that I want
But
to
that's
talk
the
about.
thing. That's the thing that you don't hear the Minox talking about. Like all these like freaking people who are mad at woke Star Wars. Uh, do
They're
they?
not really watching the show. Like,
I wonder if they know that they're teaching about how awful it is that church is influencing, government. Like I wonder if that's getting through, or
yeah,
if they're just ooh, two girls kissing or whatever.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
oh, they're not white people. Whatever it is they're mad about.
Not my
I'm hoping
Jedi.
that they still watch and get
In the
help
book
the other
where I
things.
watched, where the Mandalorians were all like murderous soldiers and things like that, I was like, no, they're people, they're characters. Like, yeah,
And
it's
I like that, yeah, there's some of the surface stuff that I think they would get mad at, but I know there's some stuff, if they actually thought about it, would be mad. It reminds me
for different reasons.
of Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Hmm.
Like they did a nice job of subtly being like, oh, here's this super patriot guy, and he's
I've
it was fairly it was really well written, but in the last episode, Sam Wilson has this big speech saying exactly what
the themes of the show
everybody
are.
everyone figure it out. Like it was nice and subtle. Then it's like, here's
Hey,
a
dummy.
hammer.
Yeah, here's
Yeah.
here, dummy. Like you
So
were you
so
not getting it throughout the whole show? Yeah.
for this show, like the whole church and state thing, like I'm like, okay, I really like this, and I
Mhm.
really like that the Jedi, because when I watch this, I think the Republic is America, American government, and the Jedi are the Catholic Church.
Yep.
And so, like for me, I'm like, wow, this is rad, because
Yeah,
this
me
is stuff
too.
I don't like. I don't like this stuff either. I
And
don't
it's
like
it's
people twisting the words of their sacred
faith they're
text
believing. Yeah,
to
yeah,
do whatever they want, and have the backing of the government. Like I'm
yeah.
like, this is rad. This is all the stuff I
It's like
want.
you say you
Um,
like doing it in the name of God or the Force or the Jedi, like
yeah,
just gives you an instant pass to be a dick. It's like, no,
yeah,
it should be the ultimate like line that is like, oh shit, does this conflict with these things that are meant to be all good? It conflicts with that, so maybe I need to back off. But
it's
it could just be that
the Jedi.
we see things that way, and it's I mean it's that's the way that's the argument is like certain point of
It's
view. It's always the way.
it's the Jedi were essentially breaking and entering. It's
Yeah.
flat out said that they did something to the landing platform that they shouldn't have to come land there.
Mhm.
Uh, and the Jedi are
You
like,
hear a
we're
thing like a thump, a break, and some damage, don't like it's
yeah, slice the something or other. I don't remember what they
yeah
said,
hacked in
but
basically
it's
to
one
get
of those
yeah
things where the Jedi come in and they're like, oh, we got a license to kill. The government
yeah
lets us do this, whatever we want. So this is
we're
within our
taking your kids
mandate. We can
yeah
totally
yeah
do this.
yeah
And also, but with Saul, he makes himself. I don't think Saul likes any of it. But he's so loyal to the Jedi
I
that
think
he's
he
like, we don't take kids. It's their
unless they
choice.
want to
But
yeah
he knows, and this is where I think where I like this version of the story more than the Anakin version of the story is because we get moments where Osha is like, I want more than just this. I want
yeah
to go like like Anakin says, I want to be the first one to see them all. He wants to go out there as well, but it's just like said as at the dinner table. It's not said
yeah
in confidence. It's not something that's secretly a bad thing to want that.
or even in Attack of the Clones where he's like Obi-Wan's holding me back, I'm more powerful than I could do more, I could do more. And it's
Yeah,
like, if you could do more, but you were supported instead of being chastised,
yeah,
then maybe you could have been that guy who's like super powerful and like all of the power that he gets as Vader, but like on the good side, if you were just supported instead of being shot down by Mace Windu at every turn, like
yeah.
it's and
And
everyone
that's
else because it's doctrine. It's like support these people, like give them the choice. And I get the feeling that we're gonna find out that Osha left the Jedi Order for the same reason that she wanted to leave the witches. Like she doesn't feel
she
like
wants to do her own thing.
she wants to she doesn't want to be constrained by doctrine. Like
Yeah,
it's she sees the Jedi as her out because she's got this power. And
yeah,
at the moment in this time in the galaxy, they are the only ones who seemingly are good and are going out into the galaxy and exploring and seemingly doing good.
yeah,
And I think they mean to be doing good. I think that's what Soul's whole thing is like. He believes in what the Jedi should be. He believes in what the Jedi could be. I think it's a lot of the same reason why people join the Catholic Church, join the monasteries and things like that. It's like they believe in what it could be and what it should be, but it's been so manipulated, so corrupted, so intertwined with government and things like that, where it's like, it's not what it could or should be.
yeah,
And I think she'll get to the point where she's being trained, and Soul is just like, and yeah, maybe it's not the best, but hey, it's what we got. We can only do the best we can within the system. It's like,
yeah,
fuck the system. I don't want to be a part of it. If that's the way it's going, I'm choosing to leave. And that's really hard for me because joining you made me give up everything that I had, and it forced my hand with my sister, who then blew everyone up because that's how she sees it. That's how the Jedi have told her it's gone down. It's like, yeah,
But not only that, this is another theme that I very much enjoy, especially in this episode, is this pedestal that we put parents on.
yeah,
And loyalty to parents. One of the things so my parents are very, very Catholic. Yeah.
yeah.
Hide your kids, hide your wife, because
Comment,
the Jedi are coming to do some testing.
comment section. Everyone in the comments, like we are. I'm trying to read them in between chatting about this stuff,
Yeah.
and you're on fire this week. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep them coming.
So with when it comes to loyalty with like religion and stuff like that, it's parents too. I
Mhm.
grew up in a very Catholic household. I did not do my confirmation. I think I brought this up before.
Last week,
You
yeah.
know,
I was
yeah,
the same way. Like went to Catholic school and
yeah.
everything, but like by the
I
time
was,
I was any at that point, I was like, fuck all this noise. I'm not like yeah
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I got baptized against my will. I did first
I
communion
didn't
because
really have
I
a
was
choice at that
told,
point.
because I was told to.
Yeah,
But
same.
then you know, Catholicism puts in this thing called confirmation, where it's like, okay, do you confirm that you want to keep doing this shit? And I was like, no,
Yo,
I don't.
yeah.
And the thing is, I had to tell my parents that. And for me, that's very daunting. But at the same time, it's one of those things where, like the Jedi, like the witches, like parents, like there comes a point where you realize that you're an individual. Your parents are not
Yeah.
some infallible, being that's greater than anybody else. And you have to kind of just decide on your own what's the best course of action for you,
Hmm.
because sometimes religion, parents, family can be roadblocks.
Yeah.
They don't all have the best answers for your individual timeline.
Hmm.
So
It
for
is
me,
interesting. So my mum's side of the family, she's the youngest of five, and her parents were very religious. And watching my aunts and uncle on that side and their kids, like they all sort of were religious when I was very young, but watching them slowly but surely, like almost one by one, just lose their religion for various different reasons. And it's like I was very lucky. Like by the time it got around to like me potentially doing confirmation, it was very clear that had no interest. I'd stopped
yeah,
doing any of that. My mum was still going to church in like the mid 90s because she'd gone through a rough patch and she was finding comfort in it. But it was never there. I didn't have that pressure that you had, or I didn't find it daunting. It was just like it never really came up.
yeah,
It was like there was no chance of me doing it. So, but it's interesting that similarly the rest of her family all over the years drifted away from it to the point where I don't think any of them like are believers anymore. The last one was until there was like a series of tragedies in that bit of the family, like in a short space of time, and she was like, "This is a load of shit. Like, how could I be believing in this when all this bad stuff's happening?" And it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's fascinating.
I like that there was a lot of time spent on the parents of this and their points of view and how they should handle it. Um, I found it very interesting that they were told to lie to the
Yeah,
Jedi. Anything you feel, say the opposite.
yeah,
Um, which was their way to kind of get around the whole test. Like they felt like they had to do this because the Republic has such a stronghold and the Jedi have such a stronghold that they had to comply with these tests. And they're like, just go lie.
Is it
And
like I feel like in a Filoni show it would have been ship cup speed of ship, like, but it wasn't. I
yeah,
like, yeah,
yeah, I was waiting for it. But what I loved about this, because now it recontextualizes episode one.
mm,
Like
the testing.
it isn't to know if they can get the right answer.
No,
It's so that they can monitor their brain while they're going through the test to see how their brain wave functions with the
yeah,
force. And
yeah.
this was the perfect this is the it was such a short scene but told
Gave you
so much
everything you
about
needed.
how
Yeah,
Jedi, yeah, where it's just like she was saying the wrong things
thank you.
and they caught her. They knew.
Yeah,
They know if she's lying or not. They
she's a
have
kid.
their
She's an 8-year-old kid. They're experienced
Jedi
Jedi.
lie
Like, yeah,
detectors. but to be able to get that information, you know, they're using this stupid test, which has always been stupid, to 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 like show that that's not what it is. It's not a surface thing. It's not a
Mm.
just tell me what this is. Tell me what this is. Maybe that's what George had in mind, but I like that this came in and
You
it's like,
add
hey,
some
listen,
depth.
it's more than just that.
Yeah,
Like there's
it's
other
add
things
some
that like
depth to that stuff. Like, yeah,
Anakin sitting around the council of 12 Jedi doing a stupid like guess the right thing
yeah.
test. It's all of them focusing on what his brain is doing.
Hmm.
Um and it makes that scene better
Hmm.
without like but it doesn't
Indara
like
playing
it
the
makes
Mace
that
Windu
scene better
role,
without
and yeah,
bogging down the show.
yeah.
It's what I hate is when they force something into a show like The Bad Batch or even in Mandalorian where they're like they feel like they have to plant the seeds of how Snoke was created
Mm.
in these shows so that we're okay with other stuff.
Like,
This
the thing
makes
is,
that scene
this
better
show,
without feeling forced in.
yeah,
It,
this show may well be giving us like the seeds of how Palpatine's created, or we get some Plagueis and stuff like that. But it's like it doesn't feel as heavy-handed. It feels like it's a you get the idea of how these people can come around,
the show
as
doesn't
opposed to
feel like it's
showing
making
you
up.
here's a clone. It's like
Yeah.
why these things would come up, why the Sith would rise, as opposed to here is the Sith Lord. Yeah.
Other than Andor, this show is the only one that feels like it's not trying to fix anything that's wrong
Mm,
with Star Wars.
hmm.
I feel like The Mandalorian
It's
does that. I feel
it's
like
giving us
Obi-Wan's trying to
subtlety.
do that.
The Clone Wars was that for 7 years, like completely,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah.
It's giving us subtlety and additive stuff as opposed to additive through telling. It's letting us think about it and be smart about it as opposed to just flat out telling you, no, this is how that happened and why that scene
Yeah.
was that in the movies. Yeah,
It's a really thoughtful show.
it really is.
And it's not it moves at a clip because you know I watched that scene with where and I was expecting cup ship speeder
Yeah,
ship or whatever it is which you can get a shirt at our
you
merch
can
page.
indeed. It's a
It's
great
a
shirt.
Helvetica and I don't even know the order. But it's one of those things where just like I like that it's not dwelling on bullshit.
Mm.
It's
Cup
not
ship
making a
speeder.
big deal about the Wookiee.
Mm.
He's just there.
Yeah,
We don't
yeah.
have that Wookiee story yet. I'm sure we'll get it.
We're definitely getting it. I think probably next week we'll be on his planet.
We'll see.
Yeah. So
We'll see.
at the end of last week, again, didn't realize until afterwards. One of the guys who he rips a blast from is Scroobius Pip. He's a music artist and
No,
comedian, podcaster, interviewer. He's a really interesting guy. He's got a podcast that's very popular in the UK. He had a couple of songs with DJs where he just did the vocals. But yeah, he was in that. Um,
cool.
he's currently
And
raising
I didn't
money for
notice, and
I
it
mean,
wasn't a
I didn't
crazy.
notice. It wasn't
Yeah,
a thing. They were speaking Huttese. It's like it wasn't his
yeah,
voice.
right.
He's just a beardy dude, a beardy white guy, on a podcast. Imagine that. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
Dartharian mentioning can't wait to see John Lithgow crash into Kalnaka. He does look quite Harry and the Hendersons. Like he definitely has that sort of look about him.
yeah.
But I like it. It almost looks like he's not necessarily shaved back, but like where he's got it's
I
a
guess head is
different
shaved,
it's shaved. Yeah, okay, I couldn't tell.
and then
It's a
he's got a top knot.
it's a different look for a Wookiee. It's really interesting. I like it. Like we've seen Wookiees with like dreads or like braided, but like seeing different hairstyles on Wookiees is cool. You've
But
got all that hair.
there's no glamour shots of him. There's no
Nope.
like beauty shots. It's just like no, this is a character. We don't have to focus on it. We don't have to be distracting. I like the way this show moves. There
Mhm.
was one thing last week that I didn't mention that I thought was sort of a weak point,
Mm.
and that's the ending of each episode, doing the iris out with the directed by thing. The music didn't build like a normal Star Wars. It
Yeah,
just
it
all of
doesn't
a
go.
sudden it just happens. But in this one, again, I really like the music.
Yeah, it's really good.
This planet with the witches has a very
There's vocals. It's like,
fantasy, similar to
yeah,
it, almost like
like
Lord of the Rings.
when they're chanting, the score comes up and it's but there's a track because it doesn't match what they're doing, but you get this idea. It's like they're
Yeah,
chanting, and so we get a track with that chanting. But I hated that in Book of Boba Fett when we got that track at the very end of the last episode, where it was a dun 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 dun, and I liked that
mhm,
music at the throughout
yeah,
that series. But then as soon as you add vocals to it, I hated it. Um,
yeah,
and this though, it it felt different, and I really enjoyed it.
right.
It was yeah, it was
I
spooky.
so I really like the music of this, and I want to bring something up that no one else will ever bring up
Great.
until I say it and it breaks the internet. So in the first
Here we go,
episode, in the
people.
first two episodes, we get I noticed this while watching it. It was brought up on New Rockstars. I'm like, shit, I didn't bring it up. Is The Fugitive. Now the
Oh,
movie
yeah.
The Fugitive, wrongfully accused, crashing during transport, prison escape, even to the point where she's at the end of a cave on a cliff.
Cliff. Yeah. Yep.
Like I didn't
It's
kill
all
my
there.
wife. I don't care.
Okay.
It's all there. But here's the thing. In this episode, especially when Osha is talking to her mother, I don't remember her name. I remember Coral. I don't remember the other name.
Anasia.
Yeah, when they're talking, Osha's theme, the very first phrase, the first part of it is the theme from The Fugitive.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
It goes, I'm not a singer, but it goes, um, dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I
So
can yeah,
that's The
yeah.
Fugitive. So that's The
Yes.
Fugitive. Dun, 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 dun. That's James and Howard The Fugitive. And I swear to God, it's in this twice, this last episode twice.
Amazing.
And so I don't know if is it Michael Abels? I don't know if he is is
Intentionally?
doing
It's
that on
gotta be, like,
purpose,
it's gotta
but I
be.
swear to God, it's there. And I don't know if anyone's brought it up, but go and listen to it. It's when they're talking, but there is a theme, and I
If
believe it also plays at the end credits is the same theme at the end credits.
I'm
But
not sure
it's
if Chrysanthe's covering the show or not, but if they are, I'm sure they've mentioned it. If
yeah,
not if
I'll have to
not,
reach out
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
because
We haven't
it
had
didn't
Chrysanthe on a podcast in a while. Like, I think
right,
they'd be good to try and get on in this show.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, and any non dudes.
Yes. Yes.
which
This show.
Johnny, who is in the chat, will be joining us for the finale along with Kayla from
Yeah.
Geek the F Out. So it's not going to be all dudes, but right now we're very dude heavy.
I'm gonna
So
get a spicy margarita ready for that episode so we could just talk about Tahine and Rims.
okay. um this is my favorite Star Wars show.
I
I
love
mean,
that.
as of right now,
I
where it's going,
love
it's
that
yeah,
so much because of the rut that you were in with Star Wars. Like
yeah,
all the way leading up to like just a week before this show. Like you were in the
yeah.
deepest rut since we started the podcast. And I love, and it's such a testament to the quality of this show that it's brought you
Yeah.
not just out of that rut, but like to a point where you're on a high for Star Wars TV right now. And that's great. That is a testament to Leslie Headland and everyone working on this show.
Speaking of ruts, I don't know if you listened to the Star Wars Minutes covering the
I
Acolyte.
saw it pop up. I've got a backlog of podcasts this
I
last
mean,
couple of weeks.
spoiler alert. And those guys are curmudgeons, and they say it on the
And
show.
they've not been into any of these Star Wars shows recently.
No,
No,
they have issues with stuff. I think even with Andor, maybe not so much. Maybe they appreciate. I don't know. I don't
don't
remember.
think I listened to the Andor coverage. Yeah.
But Pete, the guy who's like anti Jedi, done with Jedi,
Yeah.
really enjoys the show, and it sounds like both Pete and Alex really enjoy the show.
Great.
Which makes me happy because like I want people, there's people out there who are really supporters of Star Wars, who are fans
Yeah.
of Star Wars, who actual fans of Star Wars, who
Yes.
like Star Wars, that don't really have problems with it being too woke and being whatever, and Disney sucks and
It's
Kathleen Kennedy this. And I just found out that Kathleen Kennedy has a twin sister,
oh wow,
and apparently that's a big part of this show was Leslie Headland and
twinning.
yeah, talking
I know,
about
yeah,
like
like
twin
Leslie
stuff.
Headland has. I don't think it's a twin sister, but she's got a sister as well who works
Yeah.
on sound design and is it sound design? Definitely does like some of the behind the scenes work and does like I think some of the design work. I don't know if it's like set design or what, but does work on the show as well.
But but which Kennedy is the darker side? Um anyway, it it's it makes me happy to see people happy about Star Wars.
Yeah, me
So
too.
listening to Star Wars Minute, because Star Wars Minute can be tough sometimes because
Mm.
I mean I'm like, wow, Ahsoka's great, and they're just like, you
Yeah,
know, but
yeah,
they're going through Rebels still, and
great.
I like that they're still going through it, which means they're still enjoying it, and that makes me happy too. But it is I re, like reluctantly put on the Acolyte one because I'm like I like it so much.
I don't want.
I don't want to listen to any sort of like bad mouthing, but I'm like listening to it, and both Alex and Peter are like really into it. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so happy.
We got it. Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
happy.
It's
I love people being happy
it's
about
not
Star Wars.
it's not the validation. Like I like what I like, but
No.
it's so nice when the people that we
Yeah.
also like this stuff. Like I because I've got the second monitor up here now, I've always got IMDb open for the show so that I can pull
Oh,
names
good.
out instead of trying to write them down. It's so handy. Um, but just as I was typing in the Acolyte onto like the search bar, comes up and you scroll down on Google and it's just like it's 1.6 instantly rated. I'm just like, oh fuck off. Like this is Minox. This isn't people who are watching the show. This is people who
Right.
are review bombing it before it even comes out. And it's like it just it's I hate it. I hate it so much. It's like if you've got valid criticism, cool. I support you. I am do not mind if you don't like this thing, but don't just review bomb it. It's like I really, really annoys me. It's I'm all for internet anonymity and everything, but like sometimes I'm just like, you people need to own up to who you are and just be you need to be able to have a discussion that isn't just the same echo chamber of nonsense and the same
Yeah.
bullshit. Yeah,
I I like when Star Wars is weird and different. I like
me
that the
too.
show's different. I've been enjoying it so much, and I don't know if I should admit this or not, but I've been taking great joy in picking our thumbnail artwork for the last maybe 5
Yeah, I've
episodes.
noticed.
I don't know if
Doing
I don't
great.
know if
Oh,
anybody's noticed that. We
yep.
did an episode
I'm a
called
big
The
fan.
Skywalker Legacy.
Yeah.
We did an episode called The Skywalker Legacy, which is the title of the documentary on the Rise of Skywalker DVD and digital. It's the documentary about that. It's called The Skywalker Legacy. And on my thumbnail, I took a screenshot from the documentary that has
JJ
Daisy
and Ray.
Ridley
Yeah.
and JJ.
Yeah.
And people just saw
They lost
Ray
their minds.
with it saying Skywalker Legacy and lost their goddamn minds. It
It's
was
great.
crazy.
Yeah. I love
So
it. I kind of
so
like it when people out themselves like that because I'm like, awesome. You're the people that we don't want. Like we always say
right,
it. We say it all the time.
right.
Like we don't have the biggest audience, but the audience that we do have, we love you guys because even when you don't like something, you're constructive about it. You have something to
Yeah,
say as a just opposed to shit. I don't
yeah.
like it. Like yeah,
I a few weeks ago I was at the Naboo movie event on May 19th for Star Wars Minute and George Lucas
these
Talk Show,
guys.
friends of the show. I got a poster from the show. I gotta put it somewhere where you
Great.
can see it.
Good poster.
Um, but there I ran into Jacob Fullerton and he
Yeah.
was, and then Anthony Carboni showed up and we were talking. And I told them, I said, I don't know if I said this already, but I told them, I said, yeah, we just hit 500 followers. We don't have a lot of, we don't have a huge numbers, but I refuse to bend to hatred and being an
Don't,
asshole. I'm
don't give
like,
insight.
as much as I get into these Star Wars ruts, I'm like, but
You're
how else
always
are you
there
gonna
for
talk to
when it comes
James?
back. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
We
Like,
find a way.
because I'm
But
like,
yeah, still.
because I'm like, what? I'm like, what else can we do where I don't have to talk about Star Wars? I can just talk about James about whatever.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have this. And I told them, I
I
said,
mean,
I
a
don't
lot of
care.
our
I said,
off-season episodes are just like that. We're like, we'll start with a bit of a Star Wars topic and we can just chat about anything. I
yeah.
enjoy those episodes just as much.
So
Um,
it's one of those things
it's
where I absolutely love just having fun Star Wars to talk about. I love that this our little corner of the internet is positive. There is
yeah.
room for criticism,
Mhm.
100%. Those Iris out on the first two episodes felt like maybe that was a two part, or like it was one episode that was split into
Yeah.
two and they're
Yeah.
awkwardly put in there, or maybe it's just Michael Abels like
Together as one, but
didn't
split
put
into two,
didn't
whatever.
didn't know to yeah, exactly. Didn't know to crescendo at that point, or maybe
Uh-huh.
they're subverting expectations by just having but in this episode, they didn't have the iris out, right? It just went crash to the credits,
I
I
can't
believe.
remember. It was 6
I don't
o'clock in the
know.
morning when I watched this. Yeah. Um,
But it makes me happy, and I'm happy that I'm happy with Star
I
Wars right now.
I I think we should wrap up because otherwise we're just gonna sit here and chat about how much
Yeah.
we love it, and I want to go play a Star Wars game. But I've got two quotes from this episode that I wrote down because I thought they were so good. The first one was, "This isn't about good or bad; it's about power and who is allowed to use it." And that
Yeah.
right there, I was like, boom. That is this show. It's not about good
Yeah.
and bad, Sith and Jedi. It's about power and who's allowed to use it. It leans into stuff from the High Republic books. The Path of the Open Hand have a very similar thing, very similar logo. I'm wondering if these witches are like the remnants of that group, that
Mhm.
faction, which could be similar timelines. They could be and never mentioned. But like it could just be a headcanon thing that we lean into. But that line about good and bad and power and who's allowed to use it, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And the other
Yeah.
one, which was from May to Osha, when she's confronting her at the end, it like that screaming and shouting and just saying, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, that's one of the worst things you could say to someone who is conflicted and isn't feeling comfortable. I was like, it's horrible to say what is wrong with you because it just puts a guilty feeling onto her that it's like she is sick, she is wrong, she's broken in some way. It's like, no, just because she thinks differently to you doesn't mean that she's got something wrong with her. It's like it, yeah. It felt like that is a very personal line that I can feel. I can feel the writers in that one. It's like, yeah, good
Okay.
stuff.
So, okay, this might send us on a whole another conversation, and I know we're running a little long. May saying that she's going to kill her seemed
Fucking dark.
very extreme.
Yeah,
And so if we think that there's a Sith there, and we know that the Sith are clouding the Jedi's mind so they know they're not around,
yeah.
did the Sith show up before? Does the
I think so.
Sith go to this tree and hang out with
Mate,
May when she
yeah,
runs away?
I think so. I think 100%. I think that we're gonna find out all
So
of that stuff.
we're
I think we're getting the Russian one. We're gonna get the multiple POVs, and it's a
so
yeah. I
May
think I
so
think
this
she's
was all
already. I
set up.
think May is already under the thumb at that point when she sets that fire.
And so when she falls,
Mm.
she's
She's
caught
cool.
by
Mhm.
Darth whatever,
Yeah,
Lord
Darth
who's
Jason.
it? Darth Smiley
Uh,
Face, Darth Venom. Yeah.
yeah, Darth Jason
Okay.
Mendoza. Darth Bortles. There
Okay.
you go. Darth Blake Bortles.
Uh uh this
The
is
Good Place
neat.
was great.
This
Yeah,
is
it's a great
neat.
show. But like the
Uh
talking to you about it, I love Andor. Andor is amazing. But this is so different to Andor, but as good, maybe better. If this sticks the landing, we don't know if this is a single series show. We don't know if this is multiple seasons. Like
I feel like it
I
has to be. I feel like
single
it was
season.
originally conceived as a single season show.
I feel like it is too.
Because
But I mean,
it's swinging for some big fences, and
and
it's
it
like
and it
being really
doesn't seem like it's going to leave anything on the field either. Like it's I think it's telling this story, and
Yeah, like
I'm
Rogue
so
One.
here for it. Yeah, like Andor. Andor, they're telling it over 2 seasons, but it's telling a tight story.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. Um,
good.
that's gonna wrap
That's
it up
good.
because I'm gonna run out of time otherwise. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all the comments in the chat. It's been really, really fun. I'm watching our numbers in the live chat, and I don't know if it's just because of the time or if because the people that are watching are into this show. But thank you all for joining us.
Yeah,
We're gonna be back next week. I'm not going to be here the week after, which is a shame, but you might get a little something from me in the episode somewhere.
yeah.
Adam is going to be joining us next week. I cannot wait to talk to him about this show as well and hear what he has to say. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. Until next week, don't give it to hate.
Celebrate the love.
Punch it.
Should I play the video or just not? Is that how we're doing the show?
I mean, we can end the show right.
I'll push it because then it gives you suggestions to watch other videos and stuff. So
yeah, and I can run.
all right, see you, dude.
All right. Bye bye.